Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody again. Thank you for joining our second interval training workshop, where we'll be discussing advanced Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence Analysis, or OTBI. If you have not had the opportunity to listen to our first interval training, Madison did a fantastic job of laying out the groundwork. This will take some of those concepts that we discussed previously, and we'll expand on them. I'm really excited. I know like there's lots of times where I think these advanced ones are the difference between making a good report versus an outstanding report. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of our key architects, Madison. So Madison, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matthew. So like Matthew said, I'm Madison. Just a little background on me in case you didn't see the first one. I've been doing almost nothing but Oracle reporting for the past 7 years. I really love reporting. I love data. So I'm hoping that today I can show you a few of the things that I've picked up in my experience that were useful for user-facing reports in ways that you can, like Matthew said, really take your reports to the next level. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. All right. So for this training, I went ahead and made a base analysis so that we didn't have to go through the same basic items that we went through in the first training. So things like adding criteria, getting into OTBI, adding some basic filters, just so that we have a good data set to work with, things like that. So the training today, I'm going to base around kind of an AR aging report. We're going to do a few things that probably go a little further than we would normally go with an AR aging report, just to show some good concepts. But the basis here is an AR aging report. For people that aren't in finance, what that's going to be is we're going to have some basic customer information, transaction information, and some payment information. And what our goal is at the end is to have a little bit more detail than we can get natively. So we can get our original amount due and what's remaining on a transaction in OTBI without doing anything. However, if we want to see how late something is, how many days past due it is, we're also going to separate by currency and do some subtotaling. In order to do all those things, we have to go a little bit further into some more advanced concepts. First thing we're going to do is I have added a second due date here so that we can have the due date, but also something that most people want on an aging type report is how many days past due is a particular transaction, a particular payment. So we're going to go to this due date. I'm going to go to the cog here, and I'm going to hit edit formula. When I do that, it brings me to this screen that shows me behind the scenes what exactly is behind the due date column. What we're going to do to get days past due, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this so I don't forget, days past due, is we're going to use a basic formula that's built into OTBI that is the current date formula. So I'm going to go into the calendar date, and the due date is a calendar type data item. So we can work with current date, which is going to be today's date. We also have current time, day of year, day name, day of month, minute, month, all kinds of different date items we can work with. We're going to work with current date. I'm going to say okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take current date and I'm going to subtract the due date from this. That'll give me how many days past due something was. So if we do current date minus the due date, and the due date was 4/15, which was yesterday, then it would say that it's 1 day past due. If the due date is 4/17, then it would say it's -1 days past due. So it's still current. So we're going to hit OK. We can see our days past due here. I'm going to go to the results to show you that that worked. And here we have our days past due. So we can see a lot of these are a lot past due. This is all test data. And here's one here that's actually current. Within that same type of area, so not necessarily for this specific item, but within this formula, there are also a lot of other formulas and functions available. So we have our math calculations like absolute value, all kinds of different things here, truncate. We have our string options. We've got aggregates like sum and average in here. And all of these can be used on various columns over here. When you click this, it also gives you the syntax. So for average, it would have AVG, open parentheses, and then expression. And expression is going to be this payment schedules details dot due date inside of the parentheses and then close parentheses there. So if you're looking for just normal functions, count, things like that, you can look at them here and look at a good list that has kind of an example, a description, and the syntax of different items. So just a good little thing to know about. For us, we're going to go ahead and just use that one to get our days past due. Now, another thing I'm going to do, and this is the thing that's kind of maybe something that probably wouldn't be done on most aging reports, but it's a good thing to know that you can do. And you can flex this on different types of data again, is I'm going to make columns that have the entered amount due remaining by currency. So if I go back to these results, just to give you an idea, we have USD, we have EUR, and we have GBP. So we've got 3 different currencies showing here. If I wanted a column for the entered amount due remaining for each of these currencies, instead of having a document currency column, we can do that. So what we would do is we take this entered amount due remaining and we'd again go to edit formula. When we go to edit formula, in addition to this little function button, there's also a filter button here. If we click the filter button, it's going to bring back up this subject areas. And what we're going to do is we're going to find what we want to filter by. So we're filtering the amount due remaining by the document currency. Now I know that document currency is in payment schedules, and then scroll toward the bottom, document currency. I'm going to double click that. And it's going to bring up a filter, which if you were working in the previous one, it would have the filter down here. It's the same type of concept. So we're going to go to the document currency is in. I'm going to actually go to search because it's going to show all available. And we're going to do USD. I'm going to move USD over and hit OK. OK. Hit OK again. And you can see it builds the formula for you. So it's got payment schedules, entered amount to remaining, filter expression. We actually need to change this one right here. Put that where expression is, using payment schedules, document currency equals USD. I'm going to change this heading so that we know what it is. Entered amount due remaining USD and hit OK. Now, so that it makes more sense, I'm going to go ahead and go back into that payment schedules. I'm going to add entered amount due remaining again. Going to go to edit formula on that one. I'm going to do the same filter, back to payment schedules, back to document currency, double clicking it, is equal to is in, and I'm going to search for GBP this time. I'm going to add that to my selected items, hit OK, hit OK, double check it. That time, because it was highlighted, it did put this in the correct spot. Everything looks good there. Change my custom heading to GBP. And then I'm going to do it one last time, just so that we have all of our columns for the 3 that we were showing. So one more time, edit formula. Going to do our filter, payment schedules, document currency, double click, is equal to is in, search EUR this time. And I'm clicking just EUR because I don't want null. Hitting OK, OK, OK. Double check that it looks good, and OK. Oh, and I forgot to change the heading. So back to edit formula, click custom heading. I'm going to erase these things. Hit OK. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save, saving early and often. And let's view our results for a moment. So now we can see that we have our entered amount due remaining here. We've got our USD, our GBP, and our EUR. And then we still have our amount due original as well. So that's how we can make new columns, but have them based on another column with a filter. All right. So we are going to make buckets now. Buckets are when you're looking at an aging report, you have the how past due is something. Is it current? Is it 0 to 30 days or 1 to 30 days past due, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, etc. So we are going to make another days past due column here by getting the due date, which yeah, it's in payment schedule details. I'm going to go in here and edit the formula. We're going to make the same thing again here. So we're going to calendar date. We're going to enter the current date. And we're going to put a minus here. Now this one, we're going to name aging. I'm going to hit OK, make sure that it goes through. Double check. It'll be the very last thing because I added it after I've already looked at my results. So here's our aging. We've got our numbers. They're matching the days past due. And the days past due makes sense based on what this due date is here. Now that I've checked it, I can go in here and I'm going to go edit formula again. Now, OTBI has a nice built-in way to make these buckets or bins. It's this heading here that says bins. We're going to click that. I'm going to click add bin. And it's going to say current date minus due date is equal to is in. What I'm going to do for this one is less than or equal to 0. And that will make our current bucket, because if it's not late at all, or it's less than late, then that would work. So I'm going to name this current. Then I can hit add bin again. And this time I'm going to say is between, and I'm going to do 1 and 30. And I'm going to make this 1 to 30 days past due. And we can add as many as we want. We can make it as equal to, as greater than, as between, anything we want. For our purposes, we're going to go ahead and just to get more area covered, I'm going to do 31 to 90. So we'll do 31 and 90 because I know that we've got a lot of test data that's a little bit older here. And I'm going to hit OK. We're going to say 31 to 90 days past due. I'm going to do one more is between, and I'm going to do 91 to 120. Type 91 to 120 days past due. Hit OK. And then on this all other values, we'll keep all other values because it'll keep anything that's not less than 0 or between any of these. You could also add another bin that's greater than 120 or greater than or equal to 121, and it would do the same thing. But it does automatically create an all other values to just make sure that there's no data being thrown out there. And I'm going to hit this button here to edit the bin name. And I'm going to put 121 plus days past due. If I can type, there we go. Days past due. All right. So we've got those. I'm going to hit OK. We're going to save again. I'm going to go back to the results. And what this is going to do is everything's going to be in one column. So with aging, normally what we want is we want columns that have, 121 days past due, 91 to 120 days past due, 31 to 60, those types of things. We want them to be in columns, kind of like we have this entered amount due in columns. We want the same thing for the aging. One option to do this is to keep this bin, but to make a pivot table. To make a pivot table, we're going to go down to this views down here. we're going to hit the new view, and we're going to choose pivot table. And what we'll do is we will put the entered amount due remaining in this measure area. I'm going to leave this over here. One thing I can tell you about OTBI is sometimes it does not like to do exactly what you want. All right, if I put a different one over here, it'll let me maybe. We want to put the aging and the measures. Oh, come on. We're going to reopen it and see if it'll let us. There we go. And then we're going to move this over here. All right. And then we're going to pick just one of these. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that opposite. Measures. Measure labels is this one. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So now we have our amounts. Here. And we have each of these being aged separately. So there's our USD, there's our EUR, and there's our GBP. And we have our buckets for each of those. So I'm going to save that. Now you can see we still have our table here. This is something we went over last time. We can exit this table. The table still exists right here. And we can take the table we want and we can move that into this area. Now, another thing we're going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go in here. First thing I always do is change this to content paging so that it takes up as much of the screen as it can. And then we are going to do some conditional formatting. So one of the other items you can do for conditional formatting is if we were to take the transaction number and go to column properties, we have an option for conditional format. In here, we have the option to add a condition. So I'm going to add a condition, and we can make that on any of the available columns that we've got here. So I'm going to use the days past due column. And if the days past due is greater than, let's say 60, I'm going to hit OK. Then I can change the color of the font or the color of the cell. And I'm going to make the background color of the cell this dark red. And I'm going to change the color of the font to white. And hit OK. And hit OK here. And it's going to refresh. And now any transaction number that is 60 or more days past due will be highlighted in red. So you know exactly what it is that's past due. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is subtotals. And subtotals are really easy if you know how to do them. So all you have to do is we're going to do by bill to customer name. Is go in here and click this button and hit after. And after each one of these, it will give us what the subtotal is. So for this one, it has for each bucket, what is the subtotal for each client here, for each customer. All right, then we're going to hit done. It'll save everything. It'll be pretty. And then you run it, it will give you the same results. And then just as a reminder to run, we just go back to the catalog and we go to the item that we've been editing and we hit open. This doesn't have any prompts on it currently. A good prompt is probably going to be either a bill to customer, possibly a due date. If you had information about who a salesperson is, it might be a salesperson. That type of information would be great for that. And then of course we can see more rows as well. I think that's about everything that I have for today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing and hand it back to Matthew.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Madison. I really appreciate your time today. I thought I would once again like do an aging report, super valuable, and actually one of the more complex ones that we know that a lot of times this comes up for customers is having that ability to do the aging. I love that you showed some formulas. So thank you very much for the time today, team. If you have any questions, and let me share our little slide here. So thank you again for joining. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Madison. We're very excited. We actually have our interval trainings now on the calendar for the remainder of the year. So look for some more information around the scheduling of those. We're looking to have those every third Tuesday of the month with a variety of really great topics I think will be very valuable for you. So once again, thank you everybody and have a fantastic day.